The silence is a mirage, a fragile curtain drawn over a restless theater. It watches your quiet moments, waiting for the perfect sliver of boredom or distraction. And then, without warning, the rhythm begins. A phantom melody choosing you as its unsuspecting host. What unseen force grants these simple songs eternal life inside the most hidden chambers of the human mind? Consider the feeling of this subtle invasion, this cognitive hijacking that occurs when you least expect it. You're standing in a queue, your mind supposedly empty, and suddenly, 3 bars of a forgotten pop song are playing on repeat. This relentless recurrence, which we lightly call an earworm, is actually involuntary musical imagery, a phenomenon suggesting that the borders of your consciousness are far more porous than you dare to believe. This is a descent into the shadows of the psyche, where we seek to understand the beautiful, terrifying loyalty of the songs that refuse to let us go. To begin to dismantle this mystery, we must first confront the mechanics of the melody itself, realizing that this haunting is often the result of perfect, almost sinister sonic engineering. Musicologists have long sought the mythical formula that guarantees a song's stickiness. They found it residing in a precise, almost unsettling balance, where familiarity meets a calculated dose of the unknown. A song must be recognizable enough for the brain to categorize instantly, but contain a small, specific element of the unpredictable, an unexpected syncopation, an unusual vocal break, or a peculiar chord change. This combination is the cognitive trap. Too simple, and the brain discards the tune as low-value noise. Too complex, and the mind cannot grasp the pattern, rejecting it entirely. The sweet spot is a melody that offers a solid promise of structure, then subtly breaks that promise just enough to keep the cognitive engine running, eternally interested but never fully satiated. This is the first mechanical chain forged by the song, a structure that is effortlessly stored by the auditory cortex but expertly designed to resist full, satisfying resolution. It is a psychological puzzle that has no final piece. This structural engineering leads directly to the core psychological mechanism, the curse of the incomplete. This is the Zygarnik effect, a dark whisper in the human mind that compels us to remember unfinished tasks far better than finished ones. A song fragment is, to your diligent, pattern-seeking brain, an open-ended assignment left hanging in the air. Because the most enduring earworms are typically a hook or a bridge, a point before the final, cathartic conclusion, your meticulous mind cannot properly file the sound away. The uncompleted loop becomes a cognitive irritant, an internal notification demanding constant attention, much like an ancient ritual that cannot be concluded because a single step was skipped. The mind refuses to rest, sending the loop back, again and again, like a relentless messenger delivering the same fragment of bad news, simply because it craves the final, satisfying click of completion that the song is engineered to perpetually withhold. But these mechanical loops alone cannot account for the deep emotional resonance of the melodies that follow us for decades. For those songs that linger across years, the mechanism is anchored by something far more personal and volatile, pure, raw emotion. This takes us into the subterranean depths of the amygdala, the emotional core of the brain, which acts as a secretive archive where intense feelings are meticulously cross-indexed with every sensory detail of the event. A specific song heard during a first love, a moment of profound, simple happiness, or a traumatic loss becomes fused to that memory, rendering the two entities inseparable. When that musical fragment reappears from the depths of the subconscious, it is no longer just sound. It is an emotional key turning a forgotten lock, instantly flooding your present consciousness with the full, original emotional voltage of the past moment. The haunting, therefore, is rarely the notes themselves. It is the unresolved echo of the feeling the song represents, a secret language between your present self and your past scars. The song acts as a psychological time capsule, reminding you of a life, a moment, or a version of yourself that no longer exists in the present day. This powerful connection between music and retention suggests an origin far older than pop culture. Before the age of writing, music was the original storage device, a critical mechanism for the transmission of vital data. Anthropologists and historians suggest that the precise, rhythmic nature of song was an evolutionary survival tool, a highly efficient means for ancient tribes to memorize complex hunting routes, generational histories, and medicinal recipes through memorable verse and compelling rhythm. The very stickiness of the earworm is simply the residual programming from an age where the ability to internally rehearse and retain critical information literally meant the difference between the survival and extinction of the group. To truly locate the theater where the ghost performs its nightly show, we must examine the brain when it is seemingly at ease, a state governed by the powerful and often misunderstood default mode network. The DMN is the brain's private monologue, the inner theater of self-reflection and abstract thought, and it is notoriously active when you are engaged in low-effort, automatic tasks. The DMN fundamentally abhors a vacuum. It craves pattern and occupation, finding true silence threatening. The earworm is the perfect, self-contained loop for this restless, subconscious engine. The internal melody fills the void created by boredom or low focus, providing a smooth, structured rhythm for the DMN to fidget with, preventing it from spiraling into existential dread or unchecked anxiety. In essence, the song doesn't sneak in without permission. It is actively recruited by the mind to keep the lights on and the system running when there's nothing else to demand deep, focused concentration. This is a mechanism for self-soothing and mental pacing, a subtle form of cognitive self-regulation. This recruitment leads to the unsettling idea of necessity, that the haunting serves a critical function. The synaptic grooming hypothesis posits that the involuntary repetition of musical imagery is not a bug, but a fundamental feature of neural maintenance. Every time the song replays in your mind, it is physically reinforcing the synaptic pathways created when you first learned it, ensuring the memory remains sharp and highly accessible. Since music engages multiple critical brain regions, the earworm acts as a comprehensive, multi-system rehearsal. The persistence is the brain's ruthless method of cementing a multimodal memory structure, viewing memory storage as an ongoing, never-finished construction project that requires constant, rhythmic checking. We have established the how, the mechanics of the loop, the amygdala's anchor, the DMN's appetite, and the survival programming. But the final, enduring shadow is the question of selection. Why that specific sequence of notes, out of the infinite possibilities, chooses to embed itself? The answer may lie not in the song's structure, but in what the song represents about your current, underlying emotional state. Sometimes, the earworm is a distraction from anxiety you haven't faced. Other times, it's a nostalgic craving for a past stability you miss. The song is rarely the problem. It is the symptom of an unaddressed cognitive or emotional load your subconscious is desperately trying to translate into a simple, manageable, repetitive tune. We began in silence, only to discover that silence is a constant, ongoing battleground for sound, always subject to the endless echoes of our mind. The song that haunts you is ultimately a profound, personalized mirror, reflecting the relentless, beautiful tension between your conscious desire for quiet and your subconscious need for pattern, memory, and emotional processing. It is proof that your mind is far more active and far more secretive than you ever realized. The science gives us the gears, but the melody remains a highly personalized secret, a final, unresolved chord that keeps the internal music playing. The melody stops, the notes fade, but the profound question of the haunting never truly resolves. It simply pauses, waiting for the right moment to return. The brain is the ultimate undiscovered country, and it whispers its secrets in rhythm. Are you listening closely enough to what it's trying to tell you?